Hey crafty friends, it's Rick. I'm back with another video. Today we're using the Happy Easter pattern paper and the chocolate Easter bunny die set from Pixi Dust Designs to create a fun little card. We're going to color up our images using some alcohol markers is what we're going to be using to add some shading with. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with a little ink blending on their ears. I'm just using a light pink color to add the shading inside the inside part of their ears. I use the outline die shape to know where to place those shadows at. So we're going to go ahead and map out where our shadows on our die cuts will be by using a lighter color marker. And I'm just taking that layering die and placing them in place. We're roughly in place because I did get them a little off center to know where to add my shadows at. I will tell you that if you're going to do this, the mapping, you want to actually go into the mapped area on the other side as well as where you're mapping out your shadows to be. So we're doing this all in to each of the die cuts. I'm only going to show you one of them. We're going to start off with our chocolate part of our bunny, and we are using Copic markers to do our shadings. I picked 4 different shades of a brown color to add the shadings in. I'm going to start off with my darkest color here, and that's going to be E27. I'm sorry, E49 as my darkest color. And we are going to add in our little shading for our chocolate little bunny's body. We're going to come in and blend that out with an E29, and what this does is it helps to give a little bit more definition to your die cuts, so it's going to make them stand off of the card a little bit more than what just ink blending shading would do. It's a totally different technique, and it just makes it a little bit more whimsical and makes them pop a little bit more. Now I did come in with E59 and E27, and I'm going to blend it out with a warm gray on this bunny, so that it softens to that color of the brown color of the paper. I'm going to do the same thing on her little head, because this is my little girl bunny that we're using today from the Easter Bunny die set. There is a boy, a girl, and there's 2 stamp sets. One says Happy Easter and one says what? So super cute little die set you can pick up for Easter. It makes it super fun for an Easter card, which is what we're making today. So we're going to go ahead and blend out on her little ears. We're going to do that same color combination and just blend everything out. We'll do the other part of her little body as well. This is layers behind, tucks behind the other side, and it makes it look like she's more 3-dimensional, which is why we are adding the shading that we are adding to our die cut. All right, so I'm continuing blending out our chocolate bunny, and I will do the same technique to the other bunny as well off camera. I'm going to go ahead and do the white part of her fur, or what will be the white of our little bunny, and I'm using some warm gray markers for this. I'm using W5, W3, W1, and W0 with a little 0 marker to blend in those shadings. Even though an area is white, it still has some color to it and it has shadings, so you still have to put that in to make it look realistic. We're going to do that same thing on the little tuft of her little fur, and I had the hardest time in the die set when I was just looking at the dies to figure out what this was. I actually had to flip it over, and then I went and looked at someone else's project that they had done on the design team, and I figured out it was the tuft of their chest. So don't be like me and try to sit there for 30 minutes and try to figure out what the die was. So we're going to do the same thing to her little face. We're just picking one side, and we are going to add shading just to the one side. For this one, I did the left side, and for the other bunny, I did the shading coming from the right, so that they would look like they were facing 2 different directions. So we're going to continue blending out our little bunny's face, and we're using those same warm gray markers. And I will get to the 0 and blend that out to the white of the paper. And then we will move on to our grass. And for the grass, I used G29, G28, G17, and G09. Started on the edge with that G29, flicking in towards the center of our die cut grass area. So we will blend all this together to get a nice shaded area for our grass so that it's super cute and lovable. The whole set is just lovable. It's a great set. All right, I'm going to do a little shading on the top of the carrot leaf, and what are those, stalks? Anyway, so we're going to do a little shading to those as well. I'm not going to use all 4 shades, I don't think. I think I just used 3. But yeah, I think I just used 3 for the little piece of the stalk And then we will color up our little carrot as well. We will add some shading to it. I'm just using some YRs, the YR09, YR7, and 04 as my lightest color. And we will let that blend to the orange of the cardstock. Now, for the little bunny's tail, I just added some W1 and W0 to it to have a little bit of color on the little tail, because it is a white object, and again, we would have a little shadow there. So I just placed it right behind where their little tails would sit. And speaking of their tails, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now, they are two separate, they do go on, each bunny has their own little tail, and if you don't put them right, you'll figure it out real quick. All right, so we're gonna build our bunnies. This is our left-facing bunny, or right-facing bunny, left-facing, whatever. This is one of our little bunnies. This is our little boar bunny. We started off using the far side of his body, and I will line up the other side. I added the chocolate layers first to make it super easy, and you can see I did not line them up completely right when I did my shading, so I will add additional shading to each of those die cuts so that everything comes out perfectly. All right, so we're going to go ahead and keep building up our little chocolate bunny here. We've got his little tuft in. I'm going to come back and add those little shadings where I need to. Nothing real big. I just used the darker and blended it out. We will go ahead and add his little tail on. This is when I realized there were actually two different tails. I thought they were the same size, and they are not. His tail is slightly a little bigger than the little girl tail. So I went ahead and moved that over and just added in a little to her little body over there. So we will go ahead and get that in place, and we will add our little boy bunny and get his little tail in place. We'll add him on. And then I'm going to go ahead and build up his little face. So we've got his head, we've got his little eye, face, muzzle part of his face. And I'm going to pinch those into place to get those nice and lined up. I will add this to the top part of his little head. I thought about popping it up, and then I decided not to, that I was just going to layer it up as it was designed. So we're just going to get that layered into place where his little ears are bitten off, since he's a little chocolate bunny for Easter. And then we can move on and work on our other little girl bunny, or a little girl on this side. So we're going to add that right hand furthest, the smallest side of her body. We'll get that on there and get that kind of lined in place. I will go ahead and add the second part of her layered body, which is the furthest side, or closest side to us, furthest side from her. So we will add that on. I will fix my little shading mistakes where I didn't go in far enough. And then we will go ahead and blend that out too. And we will go ahead and add her little tuft in to her body. So we're just going to tuck that right over there. And I did leave his arm open a little bit so I can tuck the carrot in. I'm going to go ahead and add her little head. All right, so we're going to add little dots of glue around the little ears and the rest of her head. I'm going to add her head on to the body. It's just super easy, super quick to do. And I'm just going to pinch those into place, make sure everything's nice and lined up, just like we did with our other die cuts. And then we will add her little muzzle on, and then we can add on the details of their faces. And the eyes, there are two sets of eyes in the die set. One has lashes and one does not. The one with lashes are meant to be for the girl bunny, and the one without is meant to be for the boy bunny. So we were going to add her little eyes on. There's two little eyes. One's a little bigger than the other one. This one that we just put on. We're going to add the little other side. And now the little eye that we're putting on right now, it does kind of stick off that one side because of how she's facing. So don't think you're going to put it on just straight, because it doesn't work that way. It kind of hangs off that side, and it's perfectly the way it's supposed to go. It freaked me out when I first did it too. It's okay. Now we're going to add a little glue to her little embossed area for her nose. We'll pop her little nose on, and it amazes me how quick and easy those can bring them to life. And then we're going to add his little eyes on. It changes the look of the entire die cut once you get their faces in place. I was just amazed at how cute they looked afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and pop on his other little eye, and it's the same thing with his little eye on that side. It does have that little, it hangs off the edge right there. We're going to add his little nose. If I can get it picked up, we will add that on and get that into place. They look so cute. All right, so our bunnies are done for the most part. We're going to go ahead and layer up the bow for her hair. And I cut this from the Happy Easter pattern paper so that everything would coordinate. I'm going to add a little liquid glue behind our little bow, pop it onto her little ear, and where he's going to have a little bow tie, which also came from that same pattern paper that I cut out. So there's our little bunnies. Here is our carrot. We'll build it up. I'm going to add a little liquid glue behind the stem and pop that into place. And then we will build up the rest of our card. I have a vanilla card top folding A2 card base. I'm going to add a little strip of pattern paper to the inside. I believe it's a 3/4 inch by 5.5 or a 1/2 inch by 5.5. I don't remember now. And the card's in the house, so I can't tell you the measurements. But I believe it's a 1/2 inch. So we'll go ahead and add a piece of purple, our Happy Easter pattern paper. I chose the one with all the different color bunnies on it for today's card. We're going to add that to a purple cardstock matte layer. Cut a 1/4 of an inch larger. We will add this on to our card base. And just pop that right in the center. And I did cut a scallopy circle from my stash as my home panel. I'm going to move that to the side because we're going to stamp our speech bubbles. And these are in 2 different pieces. You have a stitch piece, which is where I'm going to stamp the sentiment. And then you have the speech bubble part. And I chose the we're going to use both of them. I'm going to use Happy Easter on the largest one. And we'll stamp that down using some VersaFine Clear ink. I'll just stamp that in place, move it out of the way. And we will stamp our other little sentiment that says, what? Because he can't hear because he got his ears bitten off. Someone needs little ears. So we'll go ahead and pop this on, and we will stamp that sentiment in there. Get that nice and lined up, pick it up with the door, and stamp it down, and we can move on to the rest of our card. All right, so we're going to move those out of the way, and we're going to pull in our speech bubbles, and I'm going to pop each one of our sentiments up on some foam squares. I'm just going to stick a couple behind our sentiments, and I'm going to pop it up into our speech bubble. Now, after the fact, I thought it would be super cute if you colored the actual speech bubble and had the sentiment layer in white. I thought that would be super cute to add a little bit more color to the card or to add a little shading to the speech bubbles. But that, again, that was after I made the card and I didn't think about it. So now we're going to go ahead and build up our home panel. So I'm going to go ahead and pop on our little grass layer. And then I will take and I'm going to add liquid glue behind our circle for our home panel. And we will add this onto our card base and our card front. And we're going to bring it down closer to the bottom so that we have room for all of our little pretties. I'm going to pop each of our little bunnies up by adding a couple little foam squares behind them. I'll peel those backings off and get them into place. So we're going to add our little girl bunny onto that side of the card. We'll add our foam tape behind our other little boy, our little boy bunny. And we will get him put onto place onto the card. And you can see how the alcohol marker changed the look of our die cuts. I'm going to go ahead and add in my little speech bubble. He's got the little one that says, what? Which I just think is cute and funny. We're going to add the Happy Easter one on the other side so that she's telling him Happy Easter. And then we're going to tuck his little carrot. We're going to tuck it under his little arm. Intentionally did not stick that all the way down so I could stick the little carrot in there. So we're going to go ahead and tuck that in there, get that in place, push it into place. And we've got our little carrot in there now. Now we're going to go ahead and add some few little white gel pen highlights to our bunnies so that they are nice and highlighted. All right, so we can continue on adding our highlights to our little bunnies. I'm adding some to each of their little ears and their little muzzles and face and their little bodies. We're just going to go around popping those few little highlights, get those into place, add a couple to right in there because they needed just a little bit more sparkle. So we're just going to continue adding on our little highlights. There is a look at our card. There's a closer look at our card. If you need any of the supplies, I have them all linked in the video description below. I'll see you in the next video right over there. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.